Hello again, everyone. Deflect here, Firm but Fair Gaming. I bring you a new video on what I think is going to be a top comp. There's two top comps that I'll be looking at. One's going to be spoiler, a melee comp, and one's going to be a range comp. Now, what's going to go into that just depends, and we're going to just dive into what I think is going to be the best selection. So we'll do the melee comp first, and for the melee comp, Guardian Druid. Let's put it in S tier. It really doesn't matter. You can put it wherever you want because it's only doing a comp. It's going to be Guardian Druid. Will be the tank. It brings the Mark of the Wild verse buff, which is going to be fantastic. And these are all going to feed off each other. The next class going into DPS is going to be Frost DK. This brings your battle res and will work well with a lot of the buffs that you're going to be getting as this comp goes on, because the next other melee is going to be Assassin Rogue. Now Assassin Rogue and Frost EK are just pumping right now. There's no question that the versatility with the Guardian Druid, also a second B res, is going to be fantastic for this comp, and it should really play well together. You have great damage profiles with both. Frost EK just can explode on packs, and then Assassin Rogue is doing just tremendous damage overall as well. And you have a bunch of short AoE kicks and a bunch of short kicks as your melee comp. So that will help out with the crowd control that might be needed later on. And DKs are, almost unkillable. The next one that's going to benefit from the last class is going to be Fury Warrior. Fury Warrior brings some great damage. They bring Battle Shout. They bring a couple different unique tools, but they play well with other melees, and it really benefits to play with a bunch of them. It doesn't really benefit if you're in a caster comp to have a Fury Warrior, but a melee comp really plays well together. And the big thing that's going to set this one apart is the fact you still need range and you still need a range kick. So it's not good to run with a Mistweaver or a Holy Paladin. Presovoker could work, but the big key is going to be the new talent and the mastery you're going to benefit from Sky Fury, which gives you the Wind Fury and a mastery buff. So you will have a excellent time with the melee here. Druid brings a few AoE stops with Vortex and Typhoon. They're doing tremendous. They're probably the best tank out right now. They do great sustained damage, not the top, but still very good. And the reason you have everything included in this comp. It just fits and plays well together, and this is what I think is going to be one of the top tier comps for season one, unless things drastically get nerfed in the next week or so. But for season one, this should be a top comp, what I think. And then there is going to be another contender. I think this one, played right now the way it is, should win overall for the best comp. But there is going to be another one, and the other one's going to involve two variations currently. So, what the other comp is going to look like, let's put this one down here at the bottom. The other comp is going to be a caster comp. And for high-end keys, you always have to go with the one that brings a benefit for the casters, which is Vengeance Demon Hunter, which has great self-sustain again, great damage. I think it's the highest damaging tank right now. The only downfall to Vengeance is they had that huge nerf to the sigils, which will play a little different, but they are still going to be tremendous for this comp. The other part of this comp will I'm going to say a slight I'm going to put this down in C tier because I honestly don't think Augervoker, unless you're in the top 0.1%, is going to be worth running. And it's just going to be for the survivability factor when you're doing those huge, huge keys at the end. Other than that, I don't foresee. I don't even know if it'll be taken then. I would have to see it play out a little farther, but it could be just for the sole survivability going into those top keys, it can help you live a little longer because Vengeance sometimes does run out of defensives. And if your healer's not, if they're pushing their max too, that it just gets you that little extra. So this is going to be down here. We're going to leave that there. Moving on to the other ones, we have a tie. I think hold specifically Arcane can beat it, but um, Frost Mage will be right there as well. So I think it's going to be dungeon dependent. And you might see Frost in one dungeon and Arcane in the other dungeon. That is going to be a very big possibility and a good chance that they are swapping between the two depending on what they need for that specific dungeon. But I do believe they both will be in that dungeon. A version of each dungeon. They're both going to be played at high end content. They both have tremendous damage. I believe Frost is slightly more survivable as if they really take the immune, which a lot of them don't, but they can. You can ice block twice versus everyone else once. So it has a small advantage in that aspect if they're worried about getting one shot. As to what else is going to go in this comp to help you survive, Affliction Warlock. And it will help you just get through a little bit more than everything else. They are going to do a little more damage. So you get the lock rocks. Their damage profile is really good right now. They are a little, I believe it's weak on single target, but their AoE is just tremendous. And again, lock rocks are a huge benefit. Lock rocks and gates are, sometimes a little underestimated in some runs because they come in handy and they come in handy a lot. Which leaves, and they play very well with the int buff that you're going to get from the mage. Now, the third DPS. And this one's the one that's a bit of a toss up. If you need a lot of interrupts, you're gonna probably take a melee like a assassin rogue or something. But if you go with Ellie Shaman, it has a short kick in the game, and the Ellie Shaman again brings some really good damage to the table. Some pretty tremendous damage actually to the table, and they will crank it out with some of the best at the top. And they do have a short interrupt and some good CC if you can spec into it, and that will be your short cooldown range kick, which also plays really well with the int buff and then really well with the damage up there. And the last, and this is where I think people are going to underestimate. I would have put Prez Evoker in here, but with full range comp, there's probably a lot of mechanics you're not stacking for, which is going to hinder the Prez Evoker a bit. And I honestly think that Resto Druid out of the backfield with the verse buff is going to come in and be the healer for this comp. I really think Resto Druid's in a pretty good place. They're not, dominating the HPS meters, but they are doing well. They do great DPS, and they will play well with all healers will play well with the int buff and everything, but they will play well with that, and they do good healing, great prediction, constant healing, which plays well with the caster, and you don't have to worry about a Prez Evoker where they're kind of directional healing. And if you're spread out a lot, that's going to really hurt the Prez Evoker for the breath. So I do think that Resto Druid will be the healer for this comp. Now, like I said, in the crazy 0.1%, I could see some people in those top keys playing the Aug Evoker strictly for the survivability a couple times, and so the buffs that they'll give to survivability, because the damage is going to be less. It's going to be less than those ones up here, less than the Aflock, less than the, two mages, less than the Ellie Shaman. These are going to be your top damage dealers, and this is going to be quite a distance behind. So until it comes down to the point where you're dying, and you're dying to mechanics that you can't help, the Aug Evoker might be played in that very, very top key. Maybe not, though, because some of these have some pretty decent survivability. So this would be the range comp you're looking at. It is, again, Vengeance, Aflock, Ellie Shaman. You have everything there. You got your two, because it's always nice having two battle reses. You have two lusts. You bring the buffs with the mage. You have your lock rocks. You got your vengeance buff, and you have Mark of the Wild. So very big things to have for the upcoming season 1, because Mark of the Wild, the verse buff in season 1, is tremendously good. Anyways, those are the comps I have, melee and the range comp. And if you want to see the melee comp again, it is Druid, Frost DK, Assassin Rogue, Fury Warrior, and Resto Shaman. So that would be your melee comp. This is going to be your caster comp. And again, these two will switch out dungeon dependent between Frost and Arcane, I believe. If you have any questions, as always, leave a comment below. If you haven't subscribed or rang that bell, don't forget to do that. Stay tuned for the next videos and enjoy the rest of the day.